Tenacity, persistence, consistency. We keep hearing these words, right? Those of us that are involved in the personal development field, in the personal development world, there's certain buzzwords that get thrown around all the time, positive attitude, persistency, consistency, tenacity, all these things. What do they really mean? Because obviously all of these things are very subjective, right? They can all be interpreted in different ways. And so I think that rather than just say, you got to be tenacious or you got to be persistent, give someone a tool that they can apply in their life, a practical applicator that they can apply in their life that will allow them to be consistent because they keep an idea or a thought or a philosophy in their head. I think that's the best way to capture those ideas. My name is Brian McIntosh. You're on the Daily Dose. Welcome. I'm glad to have you. What I want to do for you right now is I want to couch for you how I think that we encapsulate persistence and consistency and tenacity. In other words, what can we do to really grab a hold of that concept and live by it? And there's something that I started doing many, many years ago. I didn't even realize I was doing it. And then I started writing a book about it because I realized how it impacted my life. And it was something that my father said to me when I was 14 years old. And then he said it to me again when I was 22. And I had graduated from college. And I was working in a nightclub, and I was DJing in a radio station. I had a college degree, and I was making almost nothing, and I was partying all the time. And my dad called me up, and he said, "Son, what are you going to do with your life?" And I said, "I'm doing it, Dad. What do you mean?" And he said, No, I don't think so. And if you knew my father, you know that's probably exactly how I said it, right? And Dad said to me, he said, "Son, why don't you go down to the recruiting office in San Antonio and apply to fly jets for the United States Navy because you said you've always wanted to do that." And I said, "But Dad, they're never going to take a guy from a no-name college in the middle of Central Texas and give him a job flying jet airplanes for the Navy." And then he said it to me. He said, well, go down there and make them tell you no, son. And when my dad said that to me, it completely changed everything for me in my life. Because that's exactly what I did. I went down there and I was determined to make them tell me no. Well, guess what? They didn't. And I was able to join the Navy and get commissioned and go fly jets. And then the same thing when it was time to get I was going to apply for the NFOTA pilot transition. And everyone that I spoke to said, they're only going to take 10 guys a year, and you really don't have the marks for that, and you don't have the background for that, and there's really no chance you're ever going to get it. But my dad's voice was in the back of my head. Make them tell you no, son. So I filled out the package, put everything in it they were supposed to have in it. I wanted to get a letter from the Admiral, and everybody said, "Oh, the Admiral's not going to do letters, for guys that he doesn't really know." And my dad's voice said, "Make him tell you no." So I talked to my XO, Mike Prosperi, super guy, great American. He took me into the Admiral's a mess there, and we spoke to the Admiral's aide and the Chief of Staff, and he really helped me to work it out so that I could get a letter from the Admiral. And that never would have happened. I never would have got the letter from the Admiral if I didn't ask. I never would have, and I ended up getting the NFOTA pilot transition, and I never would have got that if I hadn't asked. I never would have even been in the Navy if I hadn't asked. And I wouldn't have asked if I'd have believed all the noise around me that said, "That's not for you. You can't have that." Instead, what I listened to was a tiny voice in the back of my head that said, "Make them tell you no." And see, to me, that's what tenacity means. That's what persistence means. It means not giving up at the first sign of adversity. It means not taking other people's word for it. It means going to the source from which the decision can be made and asking for what you want. And whether that means asking for the sale in a business transaction, asking for the promotion from your boss, asking for the raise, asking for that woman's hand in marriage if that's what you want for your life, whatever it is you want, you must ask. And make them tell you no. Because what you'll find out is the overwhelming majority of the time, that's not going to be the answer you get. And your life will be amazing because you have the courage to ask for what you want. And if you have that courage to ask, then what that will translate into is that nebulous concept of persistence, that nebulous concept of tenacity. And your whole life will unfold before you because you went after it. And I believe it's really just that simple. So if you can take that philosophy like I did, make them tell you no. The next time you have a doubt about whether something you can do, you want to do, you'd like to do, you'd like to have, you'd like to be, anytime there is something that you want to see develop in your life or manifest in your life, you know what? Ask yourself the question, have I made them tell me no? Have I asked from anyone and everyone that has the power to bring that to fruition in my life if I can have it? And if you haven't made them tell you no, you haven't exhausted all your avenues. So with that knowledge, you guys are armed to do some pretty amazing things today. Go out there today. You know what to do. Make it your best day.